Greetings, citizen. Hey you, hey friend, welcome back and welcome to today's Morbid makeup video. If you're new here, hi, how are ya? I'm so glad you could find me here. I'm glad we can meet like this. I would love it if you would join the Brat Pack by ringing the bell and subscribing to my YouTube channel. I put out new videos every week, both true crime and beauty related, and I would love to hang out with you. Yes, you, specifically you, so go ahead and subscribe. It's free. Who doesn't love free things? Come on. So today we're going to be discussing a case that's a little bit different than our normal doom and gloom. Don't get me wrong, it's still incredibly interesting or I wouldn't be bringing it to you. It's just, you know, a little bit different. We're going to be discussing a woman by the name of Susan Kuhnhausen. I believe is how you pronounce her name. I learned about Susan through an episode of the TV show I Survived, which is where I learned about the Caffey family massacre, which if you haven't seen that video, I will link it above or below or in a card or something so that you can find it. Very, very interesting. Highly suggest the watch if you have not seen it. And if you haven't seen the show I Survived, again, highly suggest. Very good show. Very good show. So, in regards to Susan, in September of 2006, a hitman was hired to kill 51-year-old Susan Kuhnhausen. He stepped from the shadows with a hammer in hand, hell-bent on taking her life, but the tables were turned on him with him losing his life instead. So this is definitely still a true crime video, but it's a rare survivor story, so I wanted to share that with you because I feel like that's not something we see that often. Maybe there's more. I should look into this. This should be something I look into more, but I wanted to share this with you because I find it very interesting and very empowering, maybe. So buckle in, guys, and let me tell you the story of Susan Kuhnhausen and the hitman who ended up losing his life instead. So for a little bit of backstory, we're going to jump in our handy-dandy time machine and head back to 1988 where Susan met her now ex-husband, Michael Kuhnhausen. So Susan had been single a while, so one of Susan's friends, alongside Susan's mother, actually paid for Susan to have one of those personal ads put in the newspaper, you know, like woman looking for man, you know, just trying to find her little guy to hang out with. You remember when people used to do that? Do people still do that? Is that still a thing, personal ads to try to find a boyfriend? I don't know. Susan was a ball of life with a magnetic personality and a great sense of humor, and her personal ad reflected this very well. It said, single female, 33, overweight, but not over life. Looking for a single man who wants more out of a relationship than just slender. And I just find that ad so funny. I don't know why I love it so much. I do though. Maybe it's because I can relate to it. Like, I feel like that's an ad I would post if I was in the 80s and single. I wasn't born yet when this was taking place though, so. This ad was successful and a man did respond. A man by the name of Michael Kuhnhausen. So the two hit it off and they actually spoke on the phone 100 times in a 1-month period before they finally met in February of 1988. And I just find that to be so bananas. Like, who talks on the phone that much? I know it was the 80s, but I don't think I've talked on the phone 100 times this year, let alone in 1 month. But you know, they were getting to know each other, making sure he was good, making sure she was good, I don't know. Feeling each other out, so they talked a lot and got to know each other. Anyways, the couple met in February of 1988 and had their first date. They sat outside together and fed the ducks and the squirrels, which, side note, that is so stinking cute. That is what first dates should be, in my opinion. But I guess she thought he was pretty cute too, thought the date was cute, because within a year the two were running off to elope. But as these things sometimes do, once the two were married, the relationship started to die down pretty quickly, started to go downhill, and Susan was not happy anymore. She felt that Michael wasn't putting in the work, wasn't meeting her halfway, wasn't keeping the romance alive, you know, like kissing her in between burps, just nasty boy stuff, just not what she wanted. Michael was perfectly happy to sit inside every day, do the same old things, just hang out, watch TV. He didn't want to like go out and do things, and that wasn't who Susan was. She was a ball of life. She wanted to experience new things and experience life and have fun and be happy, and that was just not who Michael was. Michael was the type of guy who was pretty negative, big pessimist. He said that life was just a shit sandwich that you took another bite of each day until you were dead. So, sounds like a frickin' peach, Mikey does. But you know what? Even though she was unhappy, she stuck it out, man. She stayed in that relationship for 17 years, but after 17 years, enough was enough for her. She didn't feel loved, she didn't feel reciprocated, she didn't feel like she had a partner in a relationship, so she was over it. In September of 2005, she kicked Michael out of the house and told him that she wanted a divorce. She was in her 50s at this point, and she just wanted to restart and be happy. Like, just be happy, man. That's the whole point, right? Of existing. Just finding happiness, and she wanted that independent of Michael. The two stayed on good terms. They still spoke to each other, communicated often. There didn't seem to be any real resentment. Like, he did want to get back together and she wasn't down with that sickness, but he didn't seem to be angry. There didn't seem to be any danger there. So Susan never felt the need to change the locks of her house or to change her alarm code because she didn't feel like there was any issue between her and Michael. But unfortunately she was wrong, because almost a year to the day after she asked him to move out of the house and asked him for the divorce, he would send somebody to her house to try to have her murdered. So now it is that fateful night in September of 2006. Susan had just finished her shift where she worked as an emergency room nurse. She left the hospital and headed on over to the hair salon. She wanted to just get a quick refresh. All the single ladies, you know, she wanted to look good. I think she was changing her hair color, something like that. Went, did that, and then headed home to where she lived at home. She pulled her car into the driveway of her cute little blue one-story home, complete with a little picket fence and everything, and she entered through her back door into her mudroom, which I had to look up what a mudroom is because I'm from California, Los Angeles area to be exact, and apparently a mudroom is sort of like an entryway, but it's its own room where it's got like a place for you to take off your mud shoes, your wet jacket, stuff like that. I think it's for places that have more weather than Southern California has. So that's what a mudroom is. When she got inside, she saw that there was a note left from her ex-husband, Michael. Now, I looked everywhere. I looked online trying to find out why he would have been in her home because she asked him to move out. But he was in the home. He left a note and it said, "Sue, haven't been sleeping, went down to the beach, see you Saturday or Sunday, love, me." So I don't really understand what was going on there. I know she asked him to leave. I saw somewhere that he was asked to house sit, but she was just going to work, so I'm a little unclear there. If you know more information on this case than me and why he would have been in her house, please let me know. But either way, he had been in the house and he left her a note. She saw the note. Okay, cool, he's not here. Moving on with her day. Susan then made her way through her house, entered her kitchen where she turned off her house alarm, and then went through her house out her front door so that she could check her mail, and she stood there and like flipped through her mail a little bit. So once she was done like casually flipping through her mail, she went back into her house and she kicked off her shoes, and that's when she really got a chance to look around. You know, you're on autopilot, you come home. She looked around and she realized that her home seemed unusually dark. She usually opened up her curtains to let natural light in, but it was very, very dark. But before she had a chance to really like compartmentalize what was going on in her house, why it was dark, a man stepped from the shadows behind her bedroom door wearing rubber gloves and brandishing a hammer and lunged at her. He began attacking her. He started hitting her in the head and in the face with the hammer, and Susan, being the brave and bad bitch that she was, she didn't run from him. She ran toward him and crowded him because she knew that if he didn't have enough swing, enough room to get momentum with the hammer, he wouldn't be able to hurt her as much. So at this point they are fighting, and Susan somehow manages to get the hammer from her assailant and starts to beat the man with the claw side of the hammer. She said that she remembered when she was younger her dad telling her that if she was ever in a situation like this, I guess, or a situation where she needed to defend herself and there was a hammer, to use the claw side because it would do the most damage. So Susan, being heavier than this man, took her body and slammed it into him, trying to knock him off of his feet, but it didn't work, and he instead grabbed her and slammed her into a wall, saying the only words to her he would say the whole time that he was attacking her, and it was just, "You're strong." And with those words, Susan realized for the first time during everything, because everything's happening so fast, you don't have a chance to think, but she realized, this man's going to kill me. He's not here to rob me. He's not here to hurt me. He's here to end my life. So she fought back, and she fought back hard. Susan didn't know why, but she felt for some reason that somebody had sent this man to her. So since she had the hammer at this point and was hitting him, while she's hitting him, she just kept screaming, "Who sent you? Who sent you?" Because in her gut, she knew that this wasn't random and that somebody had sent this man for her specifically. So during this time, the man is able to get the hammer back from Susan. So all she's able to do is fight with her bare hands. So she straight up grabs this man by the throat and just starts choking him. And she chokes him until he turns purple. And then she lets go, freaks out, and she thinks, I need to just get out of here. So she tries to run. And as she tries to run, the man grabs her, spins her around, and punches her in the face so hard it knocked her off her feet and she falls to the ground. So now Susan's on the floor and this man is standing over her with a hammer. So she does something, I'm not sure what, and she's able to knock him off his feet. So now the two are laying on the ground like on their sides and they're grappling with each other. This lady's so tough, like it's crazy. So at this point, Susan felt like she was gonna die, and that's gotta be such a terrifying feeling, but she thought in her soul that she was going to die. So she started thinking of what she could do to help police figure out who had killed her. So she started to bite him so that he would be on her, she would be on him, physical evidence DNA. So she bit him and she bit him hard. She bit him in the arm, she bit him in the leg. She bit him through his zipper into his genitalia. She bit his peen. She bit the ween. The fight between Susan and her hitman lasted for 15 minutes total. So during the struggle, Susan was able to get the upper hand. She wrapped her leg around the man and was able to climb on top of him, and she put him into a sleeper hold. The last words that Susan said to this man were, "Tell me who sent you and I'll call you a fucking ambulance." But he did not respond. Susan tightened her grip on her attacker's neck until he stopped moving. Once he stopped moving, she got up, she grabbed the hammer, and she ran to a neighbor's house who then called the police for her. And when dispatch asked the neighbor, like, does she need an ambulance? She said no, but that the assailant might be dead. It turns out that Susan's attacker was a man named Ed Haffey. He was a former Vietnam veteran who had turned drug addict, unfortunately, and he had been hired by Susan's ex-husband Michael to murder Susan for a whopping $50,000. So the way they were able to determine that Susan's husband was involved is the day after the attack, Susan went back over to the house with a friend of hers to get her stuff. You know, she wasn't gonna be staying there, so she went to pick up her stuff. Well, while she was there with her friend to pick up her stuff, they discovered in the basement there was a backpack that didn't belong there, that somehow when the police were searching the place and investigating the attack, they missed this backpack. This backpack had belonged to her assailant, to the hitman, and inside there was a date book. And in the date book it had her husband's new cell phone number and a note to call him, Michael, 2 days before the attacks. In finding out that it was her husband who had hired the man to kill Susan, she said that it was a cowardly move. And she said, and I quote, "If I ever believed you deserved to be dead, I would at least have the balls to kill you myself." I love her. I love her so much. Jesus. How metal is this chick? Jesus Christ. So Michael didn't want to go to jail, and the day after the failed murder attempt on Susan, he bought a gun and went to his dad's house and left a suicide note. This note said, "All I ever wanted was to be loved and everything. I had it. I fucked it up." Yeah, Mike, you sure freaking did. You sure did fuck it up. Michael then ran, and the police then started looking for him. Lucky for us, Mike wasn't much better at being an escape artist than he was at being a hitman hirer, and the police quickly caught him, and he was charged for conspiracy to commit murder. So Mike denied everything, of course. He denied even knowing the intruder, which is so dumb. Like, does he not think they're gonna look into this at all? Because it was quickly found that not only did they know each other, but they worked together. Well, they had, but Mike had recently been fired because he was a loser. Not that all people who get fired are losers, but Mike was obviously a loser. Think about who we're talking about here. Additionally, there was a motive for the murder. Mike had recently been fired, so he didn't have any money. And if Susan died, the house that they owned together would go to him, and it was worth several hundreds of thousands of dollars. So this was looking pretty good for recently fired Mike Kuhnhausen. But you know, Mike didn't want to take any responsibility. You know, he was like, just because I would benefit financially from her death doesn't mean I did anything. And just because I knew the hitman and just because I paid the hitman, that doesn't mean that I actually did anything. Okay, Mikey, sure thing, bud. And on top of all that, there was no forced entry. It did show that during the day, Susan's alarm had been turned off at one point, and Mike did say that he was the one who did that when he went in to leave her the note, but that he did not allow the hitman in at that time. But it seems like, since there was no forced entry and the alarm wasn't turned off again until she got home, that he probably did exactly that. You know, went in, let the hitman in, left, and the hitman just hung out there all day. That's at least what I think, allegedly. But you know, Michael's boat was sunk, because if everything I already told you wasn't bad enough and didn't make him look bad enough, there were a couple other things that just nailed Mike's coffin shut. One, several witnesses had come forward and said in the days leading up to the attempted murder, they had actually seen Michael and the hitman Ed together hanging out. And additionally, Mike had tried to hire at least 3 other people to murder his ex-wife, but they all turned him down. Even after choosing to hire Ed, he went up to another guy and was like, hey, I'll give you $5,000 if you help Ed. And this guy also turned him down, which good for them on turning him down, but they're still not very good people because it's not like they went to the police or warned Susan. Mike was just sloppy, dude. Like, that's that's so messy. Come on, man, get it together. Have you not seen a single crime show? Not like I want him to have been good at hiring a hitman, but like, damn, this guy didn't seem like he was good at anything. Couldn't be a good husband, couldn't hire a good hitman, couldn't escape from the police, couldn't do anything. Couldn't do anything. So Michael did end up finally taking responsibility, and he pleaded guilty to solicitation to commit aggravated murder on August 30th, 2007. And he was sentenced to 10 years in prison. While on the stand, he apologized for all he had done to hurt anybody, and to this, Susan just laughed. Because again, Susan is my hero. So since Michael was only given 10 years for the crime that he committed, he was actually set to be released on September 14th of 2014. And as I'm sure you can imagine, this was tough for Susan. I can't imagine what it would feel like to know that somebody who tried to have you killed, someone who tried to erase you from the planet, would just be walking around free, just anywhere. But Susan's worry was short-lived, because on June 13th, 2014, just 3 months shy of his release date, Mike died of cancer in prison. Poetic justice. And if that isn't poetic justice, I don't know what is. It's just like the Golden State Killer retiring and then right after getting arrested. It's exactly what should happen. I'm not saying somebody should die. Anyone should die. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, like, if that's not poetic justice, I don't know what is. So of course, Susan is happy to be alive, as anyone would be, but she struggles a lot. People call her a hero, and she says she doesn't feel that way. She says that it heavily weighs on her that she had to take somebody's life in order to be able to survive. Like, she was an emergency room nurse. It was her job to try to save lives, and she was put in a position where she was forced to end one, and that weighs on her. I saw her, she spoke a lot in the episode of I Survived, and it's just heartbreaking, honestly, to watch. And it just shows, I think, what a good person she actually is, because I don't know if I'd be so big. Like, I don't know. If somebody broke into my house and tried to kill me and I had to kill them to save myself, I don't know how bad I would feel. I mean, I'd probably feel bad. I am a water sign, but I don't know. It just shows that she's a good person to me. And that, my friends, is the story of Susan Kuhnhausen, or Susan Walters, as she now obviously chooses to go by. She doesn't want to go by his name anymore, and that's the story of her strength and bravery that kept her alive. I feel like I haven't come across many stories like her, because unfortunately and sadly, most of the times when women are attacked, their stories don't end well like Susan's did. So even though what happened to her is obviously tragic and so sad and irreversible, the damage that's done to her psychologically has to be irreversible, she's also still here to tell her story, which can be empowering to other women and show them how strong they can be. And I think a great takeaway here is that all of us women should be getting into self-defense, because we should be able to fight back and protect ourselves, because man, people are crazy. But anyways, guys, that completes this video. I hope that it was interesting and educational and gave you everything you would want from this particular case. I hope you enjoyed yourself. Of course, please let me know down below any cases you'd like to see me talk about in the future. I got an ongoing list, but I'd love to add your ideas, because you're filled with good ideas and just plain good taste. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. Of course, please make sure to join the Brat Pack by ringing the bell and subscribing to my YouTube channel. I put out new videos every week, and I would love to hang out with you, specifically you. And I just want to thank you for being here when you could literally be anywhere else in the world. You're tight, this is tight, and I hope to see you in my next video.